Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to this pair distinguished lecture. Today, we are very pleased to have Professor Zhanfeng Cui from the University of Oxford to be with us. Professor Cui is Donald Pollock Professor of Chemical Engineering and the founding directors of the Oxford Suzhou Center for Advanced Research, or OXSED. So OXSED is the only Oxford University center outside of the UK in physical science and engineering. So Professor Cui is a leading biomedical engineering engineer specialized in bioprocessing and biochemical engineering design. His research and development focus on enabling technology for regenerative medicine. These include tissue engineering, membrane technology, stem cell technology, etc., targeting at cancer, diabetes, neurodegeneration, and musculoskeletal. I know Professor Cui more than 20 years ago. At that time, we are very fortunate to be in the same team under the leadership of Professor Li Jinghai, who later becomes the director of the National Science Foundation in China. So we've been working together to create a good thing for the chemical engineering aspect. But I didn't realize at that time, Professor Cui is so great. You know, he really shifted from chemical engineering to be in different subjects. So you can see today we have so many people from biomedical engineering. So it's a link to the chemical engineering. And in fact, his early research is in the heat transfer. And that's very close to my subject. You know, I'm doing the research in human beings, and his also research is on the heat transfer. I learned this morning. So Professor is not only a great scientist, of course, he's been recognized as a member of a Royal Academy of Engineering, and also the foreign member of the Chinese Academy of Science. But he's also a leader in entrepreneurship. For example, he actually established several companies. Many of them has been listed in NASDAQ. And he even served as the chairman for one of the companies with a total value, I think over 1.something billion US dollars. So he's not a famous professor, but also a very famous leaders in the industry. And Professor Cui is also the first Chinese professor in the University of Oxford. So, you know, in the UK, it's very conservative. And it's not easy to become a lecturer there, but he eventually made it into a professor at the age of 38, right? You know, I was very proud I could be an assistant professor at the age of 35. But when I compare with the professor from the University of Oxford, I just cannot hide myself. So, I mean, I don't want to read the entire his resume. It's just so glorious. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please join me welcoming Professor Cui.
Okay, thank you, Professor Chen, and thank you for the nice word. And it's a great pleasure to be here. And I always like talking to young people, all right? You see, so I'm not saying, Professor Chen, we are old, but you see, it's even better to see so many young faces. This is not an international conference for a particular topic. So I would rather actually to have a general discussion about, I thought, the crosswalk. So crosswalk, you see, this is like interdisciplinary area. So this is actually the outline, what I was talking about. I think this is first thing, I was talking about a little bit about myself, I have a self-introduction. And the second part is actually about this multidisciplinary research. I think this is probably the best place to talk about this. You see your pair. And your name, this abbreviation is very good, isn't it? Pair it to each other. And then your itself is actually Academy of Interdisciplinary Research. So it seems, so why we bother with this interdisciplinary research and what to do, how we do it. I think that's the main topic. That's the second part. And it's easy to say, but probably difficult to do. But I would like to share some of my experience. And then I will actually give you a couple of examples, what I did through the years, and to demonstrate interdisciplinary research is fun and is rewarding. So this is about me. You see, I grew up in China. I was educated in China. I put that red dots in the map. We're close to Tianjin. We're in the middle of nowhere, a little village, and it's called the CUI village. Okay, and then I went to Inner Mongolia University, Polytechnic University, in 1978. I couldn't get to a good university because I didn't do anything in the school. I did not learn much in the school. I get to university it's good enough. I could get out of the village. And I did actually master and a PhD in Dalian University of Technology. So I got a PhD in China. And after that, I went to Strathclyde University in Scotland, did a postdoc. And then I was a lecturer in chemical engineering in University of Edinburgh. That's also in Scotland. And then 1994, I came to Oxford as I was the first lecturer in chemical engineering, actually. And when the chair was established in 2000, I got the chair. So it has been in Oxford for 30 years. And through the years, I spent 2 sabbatical, one in Georgia Tech, one in Minnesota. I was a Changjiang visiting professor to Dalian University. That's many years ago. So when you're old, you see, when you're towards to see the tunnel of the light, you're retiring, you're looking back. Actually, you always can pick up something you can show off. Right, so I was actually the first Chinese professor in Oxford and Cambridge, and Oxford gave me a Doctor of Science, and you see I will try this. So this is all the ordinary like PhDs. If you get a PhD in Oxford, called the DPhil, Doctor of Philosophy, we call DPhil. So and then if in Oxford name list, if you got your name, you have DPhil, that's you got the PhD from Oxford. If it's a PhD, that's you got the PhD from University of Cambridge. So any other degrees did not recognized, right? They don't show. So that's, but the DSc is a higher degree. So on that day, we have the other lady is a Doctor of Medicine. So I got a Doctor of Science. So it's actually quite a fun thing to have, is a recognition. And then through pick up some prizes and through the years. So this is where I come from. You probably all know University of Oxford because you use a dictionary, probably, right? Oxford Dictionary is actually, some of my colleagues in English department, I asked them, I said, what do you do? I said, oh, I'm responsible to probably M to P. I said, what does that mean? So, okay, so his job is look after dictionary in that letters, you see. So we have a group of people looking after the dictionary. And so any new words comes in, it will be in the national news. So when Sophie is take pictures, use mobile phone, is recognize the picture, is as a word getting into the Oxford Dictionary is a national news. You see. And so Oxford is unique. I said unique. It's the 3rd oldest university in the West. The first one is Bologna in Italy. Second one is Paris in France. Oxford is the 3rd oldest university, and then started around 1100. And so I put this 1209 in there. That's where we call the city and the city people and the university people get a big fight, and some of the university people had to run away overnight to Cambridge, started the University of Cambridge. So this is according to our Vice Chancellor, they said that the most successful spin-out from University of Oxford, there are two. One is University of Cambridge. The other one is Oxford Dictionary. That's the two, Oxford Press. That's the most important successful spin-out. So Oxford is a beautiful city. So if you go to England, you probably pay a day visit. The architecture picture is very nice. And also we still have a lot of old tradition. You see, you saw the film, you probably see the film, Harry Potter film. And then it's similar like that. So students that go to dining hall, go to exam, they have to dress up. This is actually, they're dressed up for exam, for any exam, and they have to dress up. And so it's all, if you think about it, on a warm day during June, July, and they have to dress up. And in UK, of course, there's no air conditioning. And then in the examination school, hundreds of people in a big room. It's not that fun, you see. But that's so-called tradition. And even PhD Viva and Master Viva, they all have to dress up. So our internal examiner also needed to dress up. We call sub-fast, full sub-fast. And the external one maybe come from US, come with T-shirt and shorts. So it's a bigger contrast. And one of the unique system in Oxford is a college system. So we have these colleges. This college is not same meaning as like it's College of Engineering, College of Science, or College of Mechanical Engineering. And the college is just like a small university. And so each college take students from all the disciplines and send them to the department for lectures, the experiment, but they come back in the college, we have so-called tutorials. So each student, I mean undergraduate student, have 2 chances, 2-hour slots, seeing the tutor every week. And this is a 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 tutorial. So that's quite unique and very expensive. Of course, 1 lecture teach 2 students in an hour. It's quite expensive, but that is a feature. Okay, so we have 39 colleges. We have probably around 30 take undergraduate. We have few only take a postgraduate, and we have a couple they don't take any student. It's just like a research club, basically. So that's and also we, as the Professor Chen mentioned, we also set up. This is we call OSCA, Oxford Suzhou Center for Advanced Research, and it's the only research center or establishment outside Oxford. We set up in Suzhou, and take a long time to set it up, but it's up and running. So it's also called the Golden 研究院. I thought your pair is also Golden 研究院. It sounds better, isn't it? So it's actually after a few years preparation on the 2018, and this is the day we started this. And you see, we have Oxford Week in Suzhou. If you have been in Suzhou, you know this building, famous building. And then is all you see. This is Newjing or Suzhou is showed all this. It's quite a big day that day. And there is 5 years now. So this is when we're opening, our Vice Chancellor, Louis Richardson, came. And a couple months ago, well, later last year, when we celebrated 5 years birthday, our current Vice Chancellor and Professor Erwin Tracy came as well. So we have this, the very first and the second woman Vice Chancellor in history, you see. We have a whole building there as a physical center, and then we cover like biomedical engineering, materials, mathematics, and energy and environment. Basically, it's an R&D center. So if you visit to Suzhou in Suzhou Industry Park, you're welcome to pay a visit. So this one just showed what I do. So you said, okay, so you are not a great scientist, isn't it? Great scientists should be very highly focused to do something, right? So I do a lot of stuff, but actually fundamentally it's actually based on engineering, particularly chemical engineering, working with biologists and to serve medicine, to solve medical. That's what I do. So it's all this like tissue engineering, stem cell therapy, our enabling technology for this, for clinical applications or in vivo applications. So it's all built up in this domain. So, and because I got, through the years, I got some really able students, and we encourage the student to take, explore their interest. So we don't fix project, you must do this. If the student come along and said, I like to do this, if I can support them, then we can do it. So that's how it works. It's quite diversified. But it fundamentally is based on engineering and working with biologists, serving medicine, solve the medical problems. So this is about a crosswalk. You said that you actually, so this type of, is a good talk. I think it's a really good talk about it, because actually we always say, people ask me in the old days, said, oh, what you are? Oh, I said, I'm a chemical engineer. Oh, chemical engineer. So what do you do? Okay, we talk to engineers, talking chemistry to engineers, and they're talking engineering to chemists. So among ourselves, talking of the beer. So that's why you see it's very good to talk, because you can easily show off. Because okay, you're a mechanical engineer. Oh, I can talk about the cells. Look at the cell structure. How brilliant! You're talking to biologists. You said, okay, I can make it happen. This is robotics. Look at that. So it's easy to talk, but actually, when you actually do it, is quite challenging. So I would say, so this is engineering, medicine, biology put together. This is biomedical engineering. I know here we got just talking to Professor Zhang about Department of Biomedical Engineering. I visited your lab yesterday, quite impressed. You see, it's just like you just target the really important applications. That is, we just make all our research relevant. So the good thing about this type of research is that we can always link the two problems, and we know problems. So most of my students I take, they come along, I ask them, I said, why you want to do a PhD in this area? And usually they always come have a mission. They already thought about it. They say, oh, my mother is diabetic. Okay, so my grandfather got cancer. I want to do something. So that is acted from the inside, the drive is there. That is very important. So this is why we do this biomedical research. It's just like you can link to it, link to your relatives, your friends. So that's why if you can do something, that's great. So back a little bit back, a little step back. So why we do research, right? Why we do research? So it's actually, we all think about ourselves, right? It's not myself, not yourself, it's a human being, ourselves. We all want to live, and to live better, longer, stronger, smarter, right? So live longer nowadays, of course, we all live longer, but then you don't want to live with Alzheimer's, with, you see, no quality of life, right? So to live, that's why you see we're addressing climate, you see, and energy, water, food security, all this is all about to live, right? So yesterday I visited the space program. I said, okay, so why we do all this? Oh, we need to live to Mars, maybe to other planet when Earth is not inhabitable. So it's not now, it's a future. But to live longer, stronger, smarter, this is really related to our health, right? So think about it. So if we prevent the disease, probably the best, right? So this is when I'm talking to a lot of people in China, people say, I'm very into Chinese medicine. I don't want to say more about the Chinese medicine, because people say, if you want to start an argument, let's talk about the Chinese medicine, because everybody gets your own views about Chinese medicine, right? But then as a preventive, it's probably quite effective. You see, you want something prevention. And then your diagnostic technologies, right? A lot of disease, like cancer, for example, if you can diagnose them much earlier, you can treat, many of them can be treated. Think about the breast cancer. Probably 30, 40 years ago, the death rate is much, much higher. And then now you see even women get breast cancer, 95% will survive. Why? Because of mammograph. You're actually screening, you find much earlier, very small size, take it out. It's easy, right? And so this is actually, so early diagnosis is very important. And the silver bullet and drug delivery, right? This is, take an example of cancer. People say one cancer patient died. Probably 30% of them died of side effect of drugs, because they are toxic to the whole body, not just to kill cancer cells, kill other good cells as well. Okay, 30 of them give up, 37 died of really disease. So that's, so if we can get the silver bullets drug, the drug discovery, you just kill cancer cells and then nothing else, then that would be great. And then of course now we have this new tools and new ways to treat this is regenerative medical technology, right? Is regeneration. And the engineers, you see, engineers make huge contributions with medicine. If you think this is some examples about like medical engineering, how we help medical professions to save people, to improve people's life. And the imaging, I think a lot of research here in this university. And you think of the imaging, you actually can see inside your body to a single cell level, right? So can you imagine that? Right? So you see, you can, this is without any damage. You see, just take a picture, see imaging. And then you see a lot of IVD, this kind of early diagnostic. And the keyhole surgery, you see, old days you have to do bigger surgery. Now it's just puncturing 2 holes, and all the robots deal with this, and the operation is much, much easier. And the same day you can come down, you remove a gallbladder, for example. And nowadays you just get there in the morning, take a treatment, in the afternoon you go home. So it's just like this is all progress, right? And there is all this, a lot of this, like I put an example, IVD, the in vitro fertilization, right? So now I put this is not just for simple IVD. Now, you see some people, for a mother, get some genetic disease. So if they have babies, this gene will pass to the next generation. So now what you can do to get another woman donate an egg, then you take just the genetic, this is not the genetic, it's a mitochondrial disease. So you take the mitochondrial from another egg, replace the one with the defect, and then you can get a healthy baby, right? So they said, oh, one father, 2 mother, but his mother is still the same mother with genetic materials, but the mitochondrial is coming from a different woman. So this is actually in practice in England. And so you see, this is all great advances in science and engineering. So again, science and engineering different. So here, I think it's easy to say because you are polytechnic university, then we have same language, right? But the science is hypothesis driven. So you see, you write, I think in the UK called the EPSRC or SCRC, I don't know here, you get the funding body, right? You put an application in, this, people ask, what's a hypothesis? I'm an engineer, we don't work on hypothesis. So, right? So we are problem driven, right? We're application driven. So, and then, so this is science and engineers, we have different way of thinking. So I said, okay, what's the difference? I said the most scientists spend the money, and then most engineers make money, but you only need a great scientist can make billions. You need an incompetent engineer, we will lose millions, billions, right? I take my profession, chemical engineer. If you design a chemical factory plant, design wrongly, got an explosion, you lose millions, right? But the most engineers make money, and that's make a life. So I think the important thing is actually what we do, the job, our research. So scientist is to discover and to how it happens. And the engineers is to make it happen. Very simple, we just make it happen, right? This is what you can either build a bridge or build a molecular locking. This is if you got the cancer cells, you can get immune cells, you put a target, they can combine, kill the cancer cells for you. This is like a CAR-T immunotherapy. So you make it happen. It's not just to know how it happened, but you want to make it happen. That's the engineer's job. So back to the interdisciplinary research, why we bother with it, right? I can very comfortably sitting in my chemical engineering domain. I teach the same class year after year. I write, you see, just maximum probably get partial second order partial differential equations. I got make it transient. You have initial condition, the boundary conditions. You make a good living. But why we bother with this kind of interdisciplinary research? I think the one reason is that we want to. We want to. This is actually follow the interest, right? So people ask me, why you get to do biomedical engineering in so early stage, right? I get to, when I switched, did the switch in 1999, and I went to American first sabbatical to get MIT and Georgia Tech to do the biomedical engineering, so tissue engineering. So why? Because my father diagnosed the liver cancer, later stage liver cancer. There's no treatment, right? I said, okay, maybe we can do something. So I said, I want to learn liver support system. That's why I went to America. But then the more you get into the field, they said it's too complicated. Actually, you have to do a lot of research. So that's actually, usually you have a motivation, some kind of thing to trigger you. You have interest to do it. And you want to learn. You want to learn new things. Academics, I think Professor Zhang, Professor Chen, you probably share my view, my experience. When you do research, after a while, you got bored, right? I said, you are too young. You said, oh, you're just talking nonsense. We never get that stage. But when I'm talking to academic faculty members, really think you do area of research, start something. The first 5 years, you learn, because a lot of things you do not know. You have to learn a lot of new things. Probably another 5 years, you quite enjoy. You go to an international conference, you make a presentation, people say, hey, that's great. And you did a good job. So you enjoy your achievement. So next 5 years, you go to the international conference, you look at these posters, looking at these presentations, you said, nothing new. You said, okay, you see that? So maybe I should move into something else. You see, because you need to want your brain working, kicking. So that's, I think a lot of people I find have shared a similar experience. This is after probably 15 years, 10, 15 years, and then you want to do something different. And this is also when you are talking to young faculty members, if you want to do something in a research new directions, think about you can do 15 years. That is a general, something like a rule thing. So that's why you want to learn something new to keep your brain working. And then you want to broaden the discipline boundaries. So you see your discipline, you see I'm chemical engineering. If I always work on oil and the gas, and there's, you see what you can do is always a fine material. So your profession needed to survive, then you need to contribute to your profession. You want to widen the discipline. Second thing is that we have to do this. The reason we cannot solve real problems individually, right? You think Newton is great. He got the third law, the second law, the Newton's, the mechanics, right? F equal to ma. Now you're looking back, it's so simple, right? So simple. So, but unfortunately, all the simple problems already solved. So what left for us to do, not all complex. So nobody can solve the problem just by one individual, by one profession. So any new we have to solve any problems, we need a team, a multidisciplinary team. And the second is a research niche. So because you want to research, you want to write papers, right? You're a PhD student, you want to write papers. Papers, one of the first thing, where's the novelty, right? Where's the novelty? So then you're looking at the niche area. You said your standard partial differential equations, but when applied to this area, oh yes, this is very interesting. So when I was in MIT, in Georgia Tech, Professor Zhu Cheng, you probably know Zhu Cheng, yeah? And I look, what do you do? He said, I'm looking for this cell-cell interaction, you see, and looking at the forces. And I said, okay, what is the equation to write it? So I said, maybe like a Hooke's law, like the spring, this type of thing. I said, that's so simple, but nobody ever thought about to apply to a cell-cell interaction at that time. So that is, so he made a great contribution in biomechanics. So that's why you need this research niche. You want to, another thing, you want to get the research funding, and then you see, this is where the money is, right? The interdisciplinary research. And also you have commercialization potential, right? So that's why you want to, because we engineers want to real problems, make a real difference, then you have, this is the commercialization part is also important. Then we can say how we to do interdisciplinary research. I said, oh, it's great, we do it. How we do it? Again, follow your interest. If you have, because I often said, think about the youngsters. Well, you're a youngster student. Many of you probably when you're at school or even now get into the games, the gaming, right? So sometimes you play all night or even 2 nights. You don't feel tired, right? Because you enjoy it. You have interest in that. So if you enjoy to do experiment in the lab, even you're working on 2 days, 3 days continuously, you don't feel tired because you enjoy it. So this is, interest is very, very important. And the very important aspect is find the right collaborator. Because we do interdisciplinary research, then you have to work with people from other discipline, then that is very important. Find the right one. And you have to build up the team, because that's another important, you need a team. And be ready to learn and to be ignored. You see, okay. Quite often, because you go to another discipline, you have a discussion, you ask the question, they will say, that's so simple, right? You don't know that, right? That is often quite often, right? Of course, they come to us. You can write. You think about the biologist, right? The biologist is very good actually to invent new ideas when our new concept. Think of the system biology. About this, probably 10 years ago, system biology is a hot topic. But you end up, what they did, what they delivered. They delivered the first order ordinary differential equations. And that is that equation. So what they did to measure the parameters. You think of the summarize like that. If they come to talk engineers, we would say, that's so simple, right? It's the same thing. So when we're talking to the medical people, when we're talking to the biologist, they quite often say, that's so simple. That's first year our student learned that. So you have to be ignore it and ready to learn. And even the word, a lot of these medical words, because we don't, particularly Chinese people, we do not learn Latin, we did not learn Greek. So all the medical words is quite complicated. And we have to working hard because it's something you don't know. And you have to be lucky to be successful. So if you end up, so this is again, come to the right collaborators. If the right collaborator, they tell you what to do, because like particularly medical people, they are the problem, they are stakeholders, they know the problem. If you find the right collaborator, do a problem, an important problem, what's to do, then you are in luck. You may actually pursue something, you spend 5 years, is not that significant, right? So this is find the right collaborator is very important. So what to avoid? What to avoid? Very important thing, the shallow and the hybrid hand weaving. I am doing biomedical engineering, right? But then you see, it's really not getting the depth. A lot of hybrid, we call hybrid, right? So I always say I want to be a first-class engineer. I don't want to be a second-class biologist, right? Because everybody, we need our strengths. What we don't want is pick up a little bit this, pick up a little this, put them together. It's just like, I call that hybrid. And so we really need a solid foundation. Actually, if you think about the we don't want second-class biologists working with us. They don't want second-class engineers working with them. So you really need to be win-win situation, right? And the strong and the stronger, solid in your own background. And we need to avoid the self-importance and arrogance. Because actually, I'm a big professor in engineering, and then I need to, you have working with just a junior doctor. And so when you got, and then what I experienced, when you're talking with medic, they said, oh yes, so let's have a meeting. What about 7 o'clock in the evening when I finish my operation? Yes, fine. You said, yeah, okay, fine. You get there and no show because the surgeon is still in operation theater. So what do? You just wait because they are saving people's life, right? So that's actually, you have to be prepared to be ignored, right? Is that 5 minutes left? Okay. I think that's all what I want to say. But I just want to show quickly a couple of examples. And this is mainly pictures. And so one is actually about engineers ask strange questions. This is working with the biologists, the strange questions. How to grow cells, right? So this is actually you grow with petri dish or a plate. I don't know any of you do cell culture. And so that's what they do. But if you, from us, we said, why you grow cells that way? Because if you really want to cellular functions, and the cells in human body is all in a three-dimensional structure. So everything is three-dimensional, and we have blood circulation. So it's, why doesn't it grow that way? And why you grow cells this way? This, oh, my supervisor told me this is how we grow cells. Supervisor told us this is how you grow cells. This is how you grow cells. So then the problem we have, the real problem, is a problem driven, right? The problem is that for drug discovery, drug testing, and the clinical trial failure rate is very high. So to develop a new drug, you need 8 to 12 billion US dollars, and they need 8 to 10 years to develop. So this is roughly 10, the number. So, and then a lot of them due to the high clinical failure rate. When you got a large scale clinical trial, it costs a lot of money. It's failed, it's cost a lot of money. So that's why one of the problems. We said, okay, we need a better model. So we developed this kind of, this is a cell culture, what is missing. We want to do this we want to grow cells in three-dimensional format. We want to have a perfusion, mimic the blood circulation. So we developed we call the microbioreactors at that time. And then it's very simple. This is the research lab. And then people said, can we get a bioreactor? Can we get a bioreactor? We said, we can't, we are in the university. We can't do this. And then we start a company. So then we based on our research in 2009, we started a company called Xiaoxo at that time. And so this is just a word. And so it's a bit from we call Institute of Biomedical Engineering. So it's we worked out to commercialize this microbioreactor technology. And it said Chinese money for new test, because that time, 2009, is a financial difficulties. is very difficult. So I made probably 20 presentations to the investors. They all say, great. Can we give them? Can we get more data on this? Can you tell us more about that? And later I realized they just do not have money at that time. And fortunately, we have an investor from Hong Kong actually put 1 million pounds to start the company. That's in 2009. So this company, and then when in 2011, we launched products in Washington. So that's the first time you get some kind of job satisfaction. When people actually pay their money to buy your products, it's actually, you feel pretty good, actually. That is a kind of job satisfaction. And so it makes a lot of difference. I will skip on this. This is for cancer, diabetes. And so nowadays, the company is trying to build up in vitro microorganisms for drug testing. So that's what it's about. And then is later focused on particularly on liver. And then now is actually very hot topic called the organoids. And then now a lot of companies, when they develop organoids, they use this company. They now call CN Bioinnovation, change the name. And this is like a benchmark. So it's quite a successful company, still growing. I give a second example. This is like a research how to help the biologist understand how brain works. Because this is a big topic, right? But looking at the research is basically top-down, use functional MRI. This, I think Professor CUI is there, is all this brain function imaging. Or you can bottom up. You can say from bottom up. The bottom up is how bottom is bottom. So a lot of people use like brain slides. People use the stem cells, neural stem culture. But then you actually, what needed is this neural network. People say brain basic element is neural network. So how we build up can we build up an artificial neural network to look at how it works? This is not a neural network for AI, for numerical analysis. Okay, this is real neural network. So this is we actually work on the bottom-up approach. So cells, because you have to use the stem cells, because of the mature neurons, they can't grow anymore. You start with neural stem cells, and you need a scaffold to keep the structure. And you need the bioreactors to culture this construct. You need to control the neuron growth and the connections to form the neural network. You need the input, how to stimulate the neural network. You need the output, what the signal out, get the signal out. And then you need a lot of signal processing. So basically, this is what you need to do, build this up. So we have a big team working on this. Basically, this is how we call brain slides. At that time, we call iBrain project. This is you got the input, output. In the middle is you got connect the neurons, multi-layer structure. So what we did, so you have to build this three-dimensional architecture. So you need to get the cells grow, the stem cells different the neurons, and with the direction the neuron grows and make connections. So that's why we have to use porous membranes to control how the neurite grow. And we use microcontact printing to position the cells, because that's where you want to stimulate them, where you pick up signals. And you need the biomaterials to hold the gel, the construct. You need to also use chemical ingredient to induce their directional growth. So that's basically the concept. So how we input layer, how we stimulate the input. So what we did is to have optical genetic modification to introduce optical gene, sensitive gene, to the input layer of the cells. Basically, after the genetic modification, you apply light, it gets signal out. So light stimulation. So this is how to control the cells grow on different place. So we use porous membranes, so they can only go through the pores. So that's fix the macro direction and how to make connection. And then the output, we use microelectrode array, and this is 256 and the macroelectrode arrays. So how can you make sure the cells stick on the array? You use stamp printing, and so the cells location controlled that way. So this is each word I mentioned is a new technology, is a group of people working on it. Some chemists, some biologists, some like engineers, and so you can pick up the signal. So it's actually quite complicated. You really need this multidisciplinary team, and this is a controlled growth. Finally, you probably can see this is a new right, is all directional growth in that way. So this is an example. You can see it's quite complicated. You need people from different areas we can work on this. But then through this study, we can actually, from very beginning, how to differentiate the stem cells to this connected neurons, and how the signals from one side to the other, how they transducted. One difficulty I didn't mention here in this culture, so each experiment take 6 weeks. 6 weeks experiment. So if the 6 weeks, if it got contaminated, and then it's the experiment failed. So that's actually the final summary. A lot of these technologies like laser etching and the macro contact printing, hydrogel scaffold, basically all this, you have to combine them together. This is to give you an example. I think I got a couple of minutes just to show another example is for COVID test. So in the 2020, when we started this, when China started first lockdown, we initiated this project to do rapid test. This is really for airport testing. So when passenger arrived or on leaving departure, and we want to get the results with 30 minutes on site. So the challenge is on site. There's no laboratory, and you need to get the results quickly in 30 minutes and very accurately. Because if you got a false positive, get to the air, the passenger will sue you. If you got false negative, when they arrive, they actually stop the airline. So it's probably the most challenging test. Otherwise, they will not give it to us, right? So we developed this so-called OXSED lamp test. Is a color change. It's very simple. I think what I do, this is all the science. Now I want to show you, we got a lot of publicity anyway. I want to show you this. You can get this. Save
if
me
it's turning into yellow, look at that, turning into yellow,
video.
That's a positive result. So that means it's get virus. With the stew like pink.
Professor CUI Zhanfeng wants to release a test anyone can use at home to find out if they've been infected with COVID-19. He's been working on this since the outbreak in Wuhan in China.
Is to test the individual whether get infected and still infectious. So if I'm tested positive, that means I got the virus, I can spread the virus, I should go to isolation.
And this is how the test works. You take a swab sample, add some solution, shake it, add some more solution, put it in a test kit, another drop, and the solution becomes pink. It's then heated up to 65 degrees, either using a hot block like this or hot water. Leave it for 30 minutes and it's time for the results.
The beauty of this test is in its simplicity. If the colour changes from pink to yellow, it's positive. If it stays pink though, it's negative. And the team here are hoping that eventually they can make this test so simple that we do it ourselves and at home.
For now, Public Health England is testing healthcare workers at drive-through centres by taking a swab test. The samples are sent to a lab, and with so many tests to process, it can take up to 2 days to get a result. These scientists aim to release a quick test that can be carried out at clinics, pharmacies, even airports, and at home. Oxford University has made this project a joint collaboration with China. The university has a branch at Suzhou Industrial Park in southeast China, and half the team is working there.
It means we're able to react very quickly, and also key for us has been when the lockdown in China was happening, we could work here, and now that everything's switched around, we've got the ability there. We're less affected by impacts in transport, and we're able to make the best use of patient samples, hospitals and manufacturers worldwide.
And the interest in this test is global.
We like to issue like a royalty-free license and to manufacturers all over the world. Is non-exclusive. We had interest expressed from 14 countries so far.
In clinical trials in China, the test had a 100% rate of accuracy. It now has to replicate that in the UK. If it does, people here are one step closer to community-wide testing and ultimately getting back to enjoying life outside. Nicole Johnston, CGTN, Oxford.
So you can see some pictures of Oxford. You see, if you come, this is why a lot of people come holiday with this. So then we quickly commercialize this. I will skip this basically very quickly. But on the 20th October 2020, this is the first automated test. So this is, I launched this in Heathrow Airport, Terminal 2 and Terminal 5. And so this is worldwide is a report on that, because that's it's basically by enable international travel. There's no other alternative at that time. So we just watching the passengers coming with the luggage, take the test there, just waiting there, later get a text on the mobile phone and go to check in. So it's really quite rewarding on that. And by Christmas, and basically all the UK airports use our test. You know, this is Christmas Eve, visiting Luton, and also this is actually we employed about 120 people, mostly PhD students and postdocs, because we are in lockdown. They can't do anything else. Everybody want to contribute to do something. And importantly, this come to Hong Kong. So it's used in Hong Kong airport and for restaurant people back to work. And because we actually, the company we set up, we had to set up company to get a CE regulation approval. The company was bought by a company here called Prenetics. This is Danny Yung, the CEO there. And so it's coming, this is in 2021 New Year. You can see this is all in Hong Kong. It's quite a lot of bus. I was told on buses get our logo on the Hong Kong. This work we got some award, you see, and then we also last year we got a global award, and because I think we just very proud of ourselves. We did something, you see. So this is like a summary. You see, very quickly is you see from early 2020. That's in Chinese New Year Eve. I said, come to my house, we have a drink. I said, we do this project. That's how we started. And by end of March, end of April, our first paper released. And there is actually the highest cited paper for 2 years. And then we form a company, and in 4 weeks, we got a CE mark. We launched the products. By October, we got airport testing. And then OXSED acquired by Prenetics. By the end of that, we got everywhere in the airport. Importantly, Prenetics was IPO'd in NASDAQ in 2022, May. And they claim is the first tech unicorn from Hong Kong. It's at that time valued $1.2 billion US. So what we learned through all this experience, so we need a good people and the interdisciplinary team. We need to facilitate the funding readily available. We need a clear route to market, a regulatory framework, because we are working on medical products, and you need a regulation approval. And then we cannot do everything ourselves. And the very important timing is important, that we can't pursue perfection, and we need luck. And then you see there's a lot of stories with this. We were very lucky to, in scientific research, in the research part, the commercialization part, the manufacture part, and also in testing. Each step you need to be lucky every time, because every time is screwed up. Every step screwed up, the whole project screwed up. That's the problem. And so I think that's I like to share this. I said that this is actually the Oxford postcard, and we start. I say thank you. I thought the time is about right. Thank you.
Okay, well, it's a really inspiring lecture, Professor Cui. You have done a great job. I mean, I just wanted to reflect the last sentence you said. You need a lot of luck, and I find that you know, if you really wanted to be very lucky, you need to have a lot of failures, because you learn quite a lot from your failures. Then you will be very lucky at the end. And Professor Cui really set up a great example, not as a great engineer, but also you can see, you know, our dream. You wanted to establish a company, and that's how he has done that. So now I would like to invite Professor Zhang to be the moderator to just monitor the Q&A session.
Professor Cui, you give very stimulating and informative talk. And you has been very successful in career development. So you are our model for role model for biomedical engineer and interdisciplinary researcher. I'm sure you will have a question to ask Professor Cui. Maybe we question first from floor. Any question?
Jerry Yan. So I'm just came here about 1 year ago. So it's I was in Europe. You mentioned just one. I believe there are so many young scientists or researchers. Scientists should be. You mentioned that it's a good scientists should be more focused, or should be less focused. That's that's one question.
I think you see, for any particular period of time and the period of your career, for example, you really have to be highly focused. And for research, for example, your master thesis or PhD thesis, if even you fully focus 100% devoted to the project, you probably still harder to achieve. But then if you diversify yourself to do different things, at that time you cannot, usually you cannot success. So I would say you're really highly focused to do what you need to do at that time. But over a long term, you said, okay, so this time, for example, for my project, you see, at that few years, I focused on cell culture technology, bioreactors. Another few years, I focused on, you see, at the moment, for example, we focused on diagnostics. And but then you see, you have to be focused on that. But in the long bit, engineers, we're just looking for problems. And so that's why when I'm talking to the medic, they quite often come to me, they said, okay, we like to join together doing some collaboration. I said, convince me this problem is worth to do, right? But when you do that particular project, you really have to be focused. But this is different from scientist training, because I think this is what I learned. The scientist, I learned from Tim Hunt. He got the Nobel Prize in biology, right? He said actually through his school years, he just couldn't learn any math or physics, basically never learned anything. But then when you get biology, no effort, he just can learn a lot, achieve a lot. So he just studied biology in university. And then he said, okay, I can't find a job, so do a PhD. And I couldn't find a job, did the postdoc. And then later said, okay, I do this project to do research. So he spent his career to do this project. And then when he got the Nobel Prize, And then when he solved the problem, he suddenly lost. He said, I don't know what to do now because the problem I solved. And so it's quite a different way of thinking. If you think engineers never think about it that way, because you can always find another project, another problem. You see. Yeah.
Well, a little bit is with Nobel Prize. Every year they have a so-called round table. So it's my discussion. And there's one I could remember maybe 2 or 3 years ago. The winner said, I'm a chemist, but won the Nobel Prize of physics. so this really indicates the very important to you become focused, but not focused like narrow your research area.
Yeah.
It's more like maybe by you mentioned about lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky could be by chance you found something totally outside of your box, and then you found something that's the lucky part, which could be more interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think actually a lot of this, I think we shouldn't actually draw a boundary around the self. I'm a chemical engineer, I'm a mechanical, I'm a biomedical engineer. And so we should actually quite open-minded. And I think that's, I always promote this kind of blur the boundaries, because it's actually, if you always say, this is not my job, but this is not my job. And the new problems is everybody's job. Yeah.
Any more questions? Either related to career development or detailed research.
Thank you, Professor Cui. So my name is Benjamin Chan. So I would like to ask, because you said luck is very important, but maybe I can ride on your luck because you have repeated this sort of successful story a few times. I guess you probably have some insight on the next sort of a couple of projects or direction of a research area that maybe we could also look into, that may become very impactful to the society and may become urgent need when it pops up, when we have a environmental problem or social problem or medical problem. So could I say that regenerative medicine is one, but do you have other areas that you think are important?
Well, I think everybody gets different views on this, because everybody, you see, we have our limitations. You see, nobody's know everything. We just know what we know. I think there's 2 other areas. I think it's in the next probably 10 years, it would be quite it's grow a lot. One is cancer diagnostics, early detection or screening. Because you see, I mentioned the breast cancer, and then now colorectal cancer, for example, if you do very easy early testing and do a very small, easy operation for endoscopy, and you can take the option out if you have this early sign problems. And the other cancers, you see, if we can actually, I think cancer early detection and screening, I think this is very important. Because nowadays, if you think about the cancer, the death rate, people died of like a pancreas cancer, ovary cancer, for example. This is basically when you diagnose the pancreas cancer, is 90% people will die, and within 1 year. So the reason is that the diagnostic is too late. So because there's no early detection method. You see, that's one. I think that's one thing. The second thing is also I have interest as well is antimicrobial resistance, because actually we now use a lot of antibiotics, and the bugs, bacteria, they get smarter and smarter, and then so nowadays you have this superbug, for example, this orthopedic surgeons, they think about the patient that's not died of operation. Quite of them died of infection after the operation, because in the hospital, there's a lot of superbugs around. So we needed to quickly identify that and find the right treatment. There's a lot of people, of course, try to develop new antibiotics, but then if we can identify them, find the right medicine, and that is quite, I think it's an urgent need, because WHO also is a lot of people think the next big issue, like the pandemic, would be antimicrobial resistance. If you think about the bugs, super intelligence, and then the antibiotics couldn't control them, and then that would be a big problem. That's just name 2. But you ask different people, they will have a different answer.
Any more? Maybe I have one question for you. How to measure the successful for academic? You know, nowadays people try to publish very high impact factor journal papers. And it seems only those people can publish paper in Nature Science or their serious journal will be successful. But actually many young students start here based on their discipline, difficult to publish such high impact factor journal papers. So any advice to us?
Well, I think it's important words is impact. Is the impact. What is the real impact? What's the real impact? So because I think a lot of now people pursuing high impact factor journal, and you can see the impact factor, the inflation in impact factors, right? You see the journal's impact factor all increase, right? And think about I think the best chemical engineering journal I know used to be the factor 4. And this is if it's a first class engineering journal, top engineering journal, you probably now is 4 to 6 roughly. And the second class, third class cell biology journals, the impact factor probably 8, 10, right? So if you counting impact factors, it's really, really misleading. So this is why I think I'm trying to persuade, to let people know, particularly the managers, the impact factor is misleading because it heavily depends on what profession, what areas you're working on, right? So I always say, it's great that we actually publish a paper in Nature, but can I ask you audience here, when last time you read Nature magazine? Tell me. When last time you read Cells journals? Probably for many, many engineers, we never read the Cells, right? But why bother with them, right? So this is what really I always, if you act, it's because Nature paper is Nature now, they control the quality, they are so cautious to control quality. But in the old days, at least half of the papers, they're wrong. The results are wrong, right? So this is why you see if you are a professional engineer or researcher, right? Do you really care what the people on street they think about your research? So of course not. They don't know what I'm doing, right? What you want is get respect from your peers. You go to your professionals. Yeah, that's great. That guy did a great job. That's what we should aim at, right? So that's actually this. So the first thing I see is the impact factor. Sorry, Professor. I know I also a chief editor of magazine, so we put all the pressure. They said, okay, how to increase the impact factors? Fine, yes. But then I think as for young people, but you need to graduate, probably needed to find a good paper to get the next job. It's very difficult now we try to change this perspective. You see, it's basically impact factor is really misleading. If actually now is all open access, right? And if you put if everybody open access, put in your website, I got good paper, probably you even get a lot more citation on this. So it's really, I think this impact factor is really misleading. So, but you really want to get impact, right? This impact is really what the difference you make. What the difference you make. That's something we need to think about. I think at this university yesterday, visited a few labs. I thought the training aspect is very, very important. I'm very glad to see this university still put the training as an important aspect of to nurture the young people, right? Because that's important. You see, we need this to be useful person, useful to the society, useful to your family, useful to the society. I think this is it's very difficult to say. I keep saying this, but I know it's particularly when I go to China, they do not like to hear of it. But I always feel, you see, people say, okay, because you're from Oxford, you don't care about this. Maybe that's true, but it's really, somebody needed to say it. You see, don't really bother too much about this. Doing something really you believe is important. And I think that maybe you see is I know I go to a place, people ask me the question. I say, no, you live in a different world. We have to write the papers. I need to graduate. Difficult to say. I'm sorry, I can't give you good answer, but I think that's my opinion anyway.
Okay, thanks. We will bring the information to our senior manager. Okay. Sometimes our BME staff work very hard, but because our field in rehabilitation engineering, the impact factor, high impact factor, not very, it's difficult to get it. Okay, anyway.
We are not in that area. I think it's really, but we are doing, I think we're doing a great job. We actually, basically you want the forefront of your profession, you see. We want to be first-class engineer, not second-class biologist. You see.
Any more questions?
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Professor Cui, for your nice sharing. I found from some news about your company, OXSED and Prenetics, about the COVID-19 testing. I noticed that your team is working on using mouthwash instead of cotton swabs because nobody likes cotton swabs. May I ask, is it true, or you can, or could you please suggest more directions like in diagnostics in the future? Thanks.
Well, when we did the airport testing, we have to use nasal swab. Okay, so basically that's give you more reliable data, right? And mouthwash is all depends on what you eat. You had a coffee, you had the orange juice, and then you see it's a mess around. Because we do direct testing, we do not extract the RNA. If you do the nucleic acid extraction, it doesn't matter. But ours is direct, sample direct, go to test. So that's why we use the nasal swab. I know it's nobody like it, but see, if you want to get to the airplane, you have to do it, and they do it. That's all. And diagnostic, I think I'm interested in point of care test, because I think you see, if you go to the hospitals, bigger hospitals, there's various ways to detect, to do diagnostics. But if you're actually doing remote clinic or remote community hospitals or home test, then you need to have non-invasive sampling. So we actually mainly focus on swabs, fingertip blood, our body fluids, and body discharge, and based on this to do various testing. But that's what we do, and it is challenging. It's still challenging because the regulation is a lot of them due to medical, is due to regulations. So you proved all this. So how you prevent the people make silly mistakes, right? And then so they want so-called idiot proof, and that's sometimes quite challenging when you got the usability test. So that's the main. I think the regulation part is quite. You really need to understand regulation. Okay.
Any more questions?
Maybe I spend 1 minute to do a little publicity of the Institute of Biomedical Engineering. So basically, Oxford University, we have basically our organization is quite flat. So we have a Department of Engineering Science, all the engineering in one department: mechanical, civil, electrical, chemical, information, biomedical. And the student doing the first 2 years all the same, and the later specialized. And we have Institute of Biomedical Engineering in the department as a research institute, just like yours, focus on research organization. And within that, initially we have, in the whole department, we have 12 chairs. I think we have 10, 12 chairs, but 4 of us, each of us lead the direction in IBME. I lead the regenerative medicine area. We have electric engineering professor working on biosensor monitoring, we have imaging, and we have drug delivery. So we have 4 big areas. Now expand a lot more. We have about 20 faculty members involved in that. Yeah, so that's we claim we are one of the biggest in the UK and the best. We also very related to your research. We recently got a bigger program to do sports medicine. So, thank you. So welcome if you come to Oxford, pay a visit.
Okay, if no more question, I pass the mic to Professor Chen.
Well, thank you, Professor Zhang. To express our appreciation to your outstanding lecture, so we made this a token of appreciation to you. All right, I'd like to thank all of you for coming to this lecture. And you know that peer organized lectures from time to time. We will have another distinguished lecture by Professor Xixi Chen, who will talk about the electrical vehicles next month. And I would like to thank all the, not only Professor Zhang for moderating the Q&A session, also for those who ask questions, and you made a great contribution to this lecture. So now this lecture is adjourned, and see you next time. Thank you.